Hi there, welcome back to our channel.
Yeah, hi there.
We're going to have a chatty one today. You love to call them...
Live, not live?
You do, don't you?
Yes. Is that what we're calling? I can't remember. It's been a while since we've actually done one, so yeah.
We're going to chat California today, aren't we?
Yeah, so basically anyone that hasn't seen one, we've kind of got a bit of a topic that we're going to discuss, and we've got some idea and we've got some notes here, but who knows where it's actually going to go. So it is literally just a chat. So it might go kind of slightly off a tangent or things like that from what we thought, but no.
We
Yeah.
try to do these kind of edit-free.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't we?
Kind of in a one take.
Yeah. So yeah, we thought we'd chat about California today. I've got a really annoying eyelash. My
Have you?
mascara is really stuck.
Oh.
It's nearly at the end. It's gone a bit clumpy, sorry. California trip planning.
Yes.
We don't have any California content on our new Aid and Lisa channel, but we do on my original YouTube channel, don't we?
Yeah. Yeah, and we keep talking about moving our videos over, taking them down on there and putting them on here, but life's so busy. Lisa does a lot of the editing, and the amount
of it.
You do a lot of editing.
Oh, I was going to say do all of it.
I know, but you do a lot of editing, don't
Yeah.
you? But we would love to get them on the channel because it's more travel related. But of course, it was right at the time, and they were there, so they are there.
We'll leave a link to them.
We'll
if you
leave
wanna
links
go
to
and
them
check
anyway.
them
Go
out.
and check them out. So
But we have both been to California a few times, haven't we?
yes, yep.
So I'll let you talk briefly about yours.
My first time was in year 2000. I actually worked over there, same company I work for at the moment. It was actually in a place called Aliso Viejo.
It's beautiful.
It is lovely. If you kind of know California, there's a lot of little kind of pockets of places. I mean, we were probably about, probably half an hour or less from Disney. But we were about 10-15 minutes from the coast. Anyone that knows Laguna Beach, that was probably our second closest beach.
I've got such happy memories with you there.
Yes, I mean it's just nice actually. I mean probably maybe 45 minutes to actually like LAX. And yeah, I spent sort of a few months there sort of working and living, so I kind of got to experience things as a local, so to speak. I did do Disney, but Disney didn't really mean the same as what it does to me now, and this is the real shocking part. I don't think I've got any photos.
I find that really funny because you love taking photos.
I know, and I had a camera, and I should go and look to see if I've got any, but I don't recall taking any.
Oh,
I should actually go and have a look.
You
I've got
should.
photos of the actual trip when I was there, but so that's me. And then of course we'll come to when both of our journey for California started. But I'll let you say about your.
I was going to say I've had trips. I've done like Disney and the Highway 1 and Universal and all that before Aid and Hollywood. And you'd done obviously Hollywood beforehand. So we've done everything. But then we had a trip together in 2013. You took me to where you worked. We just had a week without the kids. It was a work trip actually that we managed to get some time together as well.
Did we do Palm? We didn't do Palm Springs that week, did we?
did. We stayed in Santa Monica and then we were
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
in Anaheim at the convention center there for the work stuff. But then we've also then done the trip with the kids as well, and we fell in love with California well and truly, didn't we?
Yeah, that was 2019, and we did relive some of the bits that we did in either kind of my trip or what you'd done previously.
Like a combination.
It really was,
wasn't it?
yeah, because when I was there in 2000, I did things like the aerial tramway at Palm Springs. So in 2019, we did that. So it was a bit of a mix. It's actually quite nice because obviously having that familiarity of the area was just kind of nice. I guess in the time I was there, I had the time to explore as well.
That's true. Your
So
weekends.
that was actually something really quite nice. So
But we'll talk a little bit about that trip as well. But we've just had quite a lot of questions from people. I think there's a lot of people going out to California this year.
there are, yeah.
There's lots going on with Disney and that. And lots of people are wanting to do road trips. So we thought we would share some of the questions that we get asked a lot with you, and hopefully it might help some of you.
Yeah, and now obviously we're gearing this maybe around our road trip that we did. But of course, take the bits out of this that obviously are going to maybe be relevant or not relevant, because not everyone's doing a road trip. Some people
That's
might
true.
just be doing Disney. Some people might be going to San Francisco only. So just take out of it. So we'll be gearing it towards what we did, but also maybe add in some other bits if you are, for example, just doing Disney or just doing San Francisco. So just, yeah, we'll
Got a little bit of everything, haven't we?
yeah, so no particular hard and fast rule about anything, but maybe some nice tips here as well of what you can and, well, what maybe you could do.
So the first really popular question that we get asked is, if you're doing a road trip,
Yep.
should you do Disney at the start of your trip or leave it till the end of the trip? If you're doing like the Highway 1 coastal road
Well, you
trip.
did the trip with Disney first, didn't you?
In
the
96.
90s. Yeah.
I did. And then we as a family, we started in San Francisco in
And
2000.
did Disney at the end.
We did it the opposite way. From doing the two, I would recommend doing Disney last and starting on the highway, like in San Francisco, and doing the road trip. It depends. There's obviously lots of different reasons, and everyone's different. Things to think about when you're starting your trip. It's great that you're awake early in the morning, but you do get tired. The first sort of couple of days you get tired, then quickly throughout the day, you get that sort of jet lag feeling.
That similar kind of thing if you've done Florida as well. There's the excitement. You
Yeah.
seem to have a burst of energy, but then you also flag a bit as well.
It hits you. So doing San Francisco first worked really well. We were up really early, so we got on the cable cars that get really, really full. We were the first on there,
Yeah.
weren't we? So that worked so well doing San Francisco first, but then able to have a little snooze in the afternoon and then go back out in the evening. Whereas with Disney, you kind of want to keep going because, especially California, there's a lot to do in a short space of time.
That's what I was going to say. You're not going to be there you could be there for a long period, but if you're doing, say, a road trip, you might only be there for a matter of days. So you're going to it's a bit like if you've done a trip to Disneyland Paris. You're going to want to try and do it in a short space of time. You've got the two parks literally right next to each other. So you're going to kind of want to do fuller days. I mean, if you follow our vlogs and watch them before, you'll see that we do kind of break our days up, or try to.
We didn't in California.
But in California, we didn't, because we knew we had limited time. Now, doing that at the end of the trip, we'd kind of, should we say, got acclimatised. We'd also taken, although it was a big road trip, we'd done lots of things. We still had downtime. So it was actually a really nice balance. So when we did get to Disney, we did actually and could really enjoy it.
Yeah, we didn't have that jet lag hanging over us. We also had the excitement throughout the trip of knowing that Disney was coming, which was really nice.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I think I liked it the way it was. And we've done other road trips where we've ended at Disney.
That's true.
And I think actually that's really nice. It's almost like you go somewhere that you're familiar with, especially if you're travelling on a road trip places you've never been. There's excitement there, but then the end part of the trip is like you're almost going home.
That's a nice. I never thought of it like that.
Yeah, because it's kind of what you kind of you know, don't you?
It's familiar.
If you've been before, of course.
The big thing I think you need to think about is which side of the road you want to be on for your road trip.
Yeah.
Now, Aid's only done it the one way.
Yes, from obviously north down south.
When you're driving from San Francisco downwards, you're driving on the side of the coast.
You're on the coastal side. You're on the cliff side, should we say?
If you
and most
love
of it is cliff.
the views, it's amazing. You found it quite hard, didn't you?
It was. Should we say
you don't like heights? I'll just add that.
What? Yeah, I don't. They're not my favourite thing. Things like cliffs and things like that. I mean, obviously, when I'm flying, that doesn't affect me in any way or form. But if I'm near the edge of a cliff, that kind of sort of does bother me. It's kind of like I'm sure it's the same with most people. There's that human nature of what if.
Yeah.
And some of these roads are quite scary in that respect. There's not hiding anything. You're not trying to scare people either, but they are quite scary. And you do have some quite sheer drops one side. We had a great big SUV, which was great. But some of the roads are quite narrow as well. And some of them don't even have barriers as well. So just be aware of that. It's a lovely drive. I mean, you just take your time.
How long were we driving like that?
We had about 200 miles. Was it about 200 miles we did?
Yeah.
And it was
like that.
it was kind of quite exhausting at times.
It must
because
have
it
been for you.
wasn't
Yeah.
also us driving. It was cars or trucks or lorries coming the other way. And it is quite twisty-turny as well. So
one thing
enjoyable, but it was...
You were exhausted at the end,
It was
weren't
tiring,
you?
yeah.
One thing to think about as well, if you've got kids in the back, we did it wrong, and I didn't even think about it until more recently. They've always sat... Louis sits behind me, Holly sits behind you. Is that right? Yeah, I think that's right.
I think so, yeah. But even in the States, though,
yeah, so
he still sits side beside me. I think it's... Yeah, so...
They've just always done that. They have their spots, and that's it. So when we were on the road trip, we had Louis on the side where I was, on the drop side down the coast. He was terrified the whole time. Whereas we had Holly on Aid's side that wanted to see the views. And I didn't, we stopped so many times. We didn't think about flipping them over.
Well, they didn't really mention it either.
So she could enjoy the views. So maybe if you've got kids in the back, find out who is maybe a little bit more nervous and who really wants to see the views and sit your kids that way.
I would say the actual quality of the roads are actually pretty good. I mean, our roads over here in the UK aren't the best in places. The actual quality of the roads are okay. There's nothing in regard to that, but it is just literally the fact.
Yeah, it's not like they're dirt tracks.
No, it's not the dirt tracks. It's just one moment you could literally be just right by the edge of the road. You just got to be careful and just take your time, and also just take regular breaks. There's lots of places to stop, and that's the other advantage being
I was gonna
the
say
coast. Should we say the water side is that you can easily pull over where there's less times you can pull over if you were travelling south to north.
And you can't. You've obviously then got to cross the road as well.
Exactly, yeah. So no, I mean I would do it from north going down to south again. That would be my choice if I did it again. I would do it again. We did it overnight, didn't we? I mean, I don't know if what we want to kind of like discuss here. Do we want to talk about our time when we did arrive on the trip and what we did and our plans? And also, for example, what maybe we saw and how we picked what we wanted to do as well.
Well, I was also going to say, with regards to pulling off, there's loads and loads of rest stops. There's so many places where you can get out and have a look at the beautiful coast, and there's a few other little bits and pieces. But yeah, if you want the pretty coastal views, you want to be travelling from San Francisco downwards. So we did it overnight. We would love to do it again and do it over a longer stay, because it really, I always say, like, sort of, it's like skimming the surface, isn't it? There's only so much you can do in that time. We booked a hotel halfway down, didn't we, in Cambria?
Yes.
There's so many places you can stop. We chose Cambria just from looking on Google Maps. It looked nicer. Some of the areas, you look at them, and to start with I was thinking, oh, there's loads of hotels, it looks really good, loads of food places. But when you look onto Google Maps and you look at like the images, or people, you can see like videos, some of them aren't as nice, whereas Cambria just felt unspoiled. It was a tiny little strip of hotels, wasn't it? I think there was one restaurant.
They were like more like inns, weren't they? So they were actually sort of in rather than your main kind of branded hotels kind of thing. So, and
you just cross over the road and there's a boardwalk all the way along the coast. There's nothing on the beach. It's completely unspoilt, isn't it? We got the sunrise or the sunset. It was just beautiful. The little hotels there all include breakfast.
Yeah.
It was just so cozy. It just felt really, really nice, didn't it?
And
there was nothing sort of like tacky or...
Yeah, it was actually it was really, really lovely. And I think also after we'd just come from San Francisco, we'd had a few days there. I guess we'd become acclimatised to the time zone. We'd done a few things there. We'd had a bit of a busyish time. Arriving there was almost like a bit of a respite, wasn't it? So it was actually nice. It was just literally on the beach. There was not much there to kind of do.
We got pizza ordered in, didn't we?
Yeah, so overnight. So that was another perfect thing to do. And again, it's sometimes you've got to think you've got to take your foot off the gas to actually sort of recharge his battery. So after having a relatively few full-on days, it was nice just to have a bit of a slower pace overnight.
Yeah, it was perfect. We really enjoyed it there.
And the reason we obviously didn't do so many other things as well, because you said about there was lots more we wanted to do, is because of the plans for the rest of the trip, which we'll kind of come on to in a moment,
should
won't
we go to that now? Because that's a really good question. I think this we might jump around a little bit. But because that's another thing people ask a lot, is how long at each location?
Yeah, I guess this is probably an ideal time to mention it, is because people might be thinking, well, we did that time in San Francisco, we drive literally half the way down, and then we kind of carried on. And the reason for that was what we decided to do, wasn't it?
It was our plans, yeah.
Our plans mainly were to spend some time in Anaheim, some time in Hollywood, some time in San Francisco, and kind of a little bit in between type of thing. We would have done other things, but then we'd have had to sacrifice time on other parts we wanted to do.
I think the really important thing is to sit down and brainstorm and research and find out what it is that you want to see and do. Write a great big list. Obviously you're not going to be able to do everything,
Yep.
but work out what is more important to you, what you really, really can't miss. I think, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think that's the real key. And also watch vlogs as well, because that's what we did. And we really, really wanted to do Yosemite, but we knew from where it was, one, to drive there, and then actually to give it the time we felt we really wanted to, and then to carry on with our trip, we would have either needed a lot of extra days, or would have had to cut out parts of our sort of other parts of our trip. And we decided that maybe needs to go on the list for another time, because we want to do that properly. So yeah, write a list. Put on there what is your must-dos and maybe like you'd like to do.
Get the kids involved, see what they want to do.
Yeah.
Now that leads on to us going to Hollywood. We weren't that fussed with Hollywood. We've both done it previously together and before we were together, and we weren't fussed about ever going back there. It was just the Strip was just a bit rubbishy.
Those who've been will probably know exactly what I mean. And I think when you think of Hollywood, you think of the Strip, Hollywood Boulevard, Sunset Boulevard. Nice to go to. Obviously got places like Rodeo Drive, and I think they're the kind of key ones. You obviously can see like the Chinese Theatre, the Walk of Fame, but even the Walk of Fame, I mean, to be honest, it's not somewhere I, having done before, would think, do I really want to do that again?
However, we've got a son that wants to work in film. That's what he's doing his degree in. He's doing screenwriting and film production. And it was really, really important to him. So we wrote a list of the things that we thought we would do in Hollywood. We weren't particularly fast. We really played it down to the kids, and it ended up being one of our favourite parts of the trip. We saw it in such a different light, didn't we?
Yeah, and we also explored other places that we hadn't done before. Places there that are actually we wouldn't have thought to look at. And again, it comes down to your research. Yes, you do have the, should we say, the tacky side.
Yeah. But we even enjoyed that, actually, didn't we? We had such a laugh with the kids.
We did, actually. But then it was things like driving in, and we did the Star Tour. And we thought, what a great way to actually have a drive around as well, because we went up Mulholland Drive and around some of the other roads. It was obviously seeing famous people's houses.
We would never choose to do that, but Louis is such a movie geek, isn't he?
Yeah.
And the kids
we thought, why not? We
Yeah.
thought, why not? And we did it, and we absolutely loved it. But the other parts of Hollywood, because how many nights were we actually staying in Hollywood? Was it 5?
Something like that, yeah.
About 5 nights. But there was other things like the Grove. Anyone that knows, there's a very kind of, should we not say famous, very well known shopping centre.
Most beautiful shopping centre.
Beautiful.
I found out that actually from Adam Hatton's videos. Actually,
okay.
He's done some good California vlogs. It's a car park. You get out of your car, and there's carpet.
Yeah, in the car park, isn't there?
It's so beautiful there. And there's a farmer's market there. We had a really good brunch.
Yeah, it was a place, was it called Marmalade?
Oh,
I think.
you've got a good memory.
That was a lovely
It was
brunch.
just like a breath of fresh air,
There
wasn't
was a
it?
cinema there. It was just like a nice open air.
Quite retro, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it was just lovely. I think also choosing where you actually stay is an important part as well, and that I think was quite a challenge, wasn't it? Because it was, where do we stay?
Especially as well when you're a family, because to have 2 hotel rooms, you can't, especially with older kids, you can squeeze into one room for a night, but for us, we knew that wouldn't work long term. You know that's when the bickering starts, when everyone's tired as well. Space is really important. So we went down the Airbnb route.
Yeah.
Just to give ourselves a little bit more space, didn't we?
Yeah, and this video will be coming out in a little while, but we shared on Instagram stories. We're actually talking about hotels and booking and things like that, and actually shared a photo of where we stayed, and it was actually like a guest house behind a main house.
A mansion house.
Well,
it's
essentially
huge.
it's a mansion, and we were essentially staying like the guest house. And you see in the movies the fact of, oh yeah, there's the guest house or there's the pool room. It was literally like that. It was a 2-bedroom place with a lovely lounge.
Kids had the room upstairs, didn't they? It was like
full kitchen.
Yeah.
Bathroom downstairs.
They had
upstairs,
their own bathroom.
bathroom upstairs, and it was lovely. And the price of it was it about £250 or dollars a night,
something like that.
But we felt the other part was, well, because it was in a real nice part of the neighbourhood. It was literally in Hollywood. And also, one of their old neighbours used to be Ariana Grande.
Over the road.
Lived over the road. Previous to that was Lindsay Buckingham from Fleetwood Mac. So it's it is those kind of houses. And they used to actually be on the tour.
Yeah.
Didn't they,
She
apparently?
said that.
So you're in a kind of nice part of of Hollywood.
I think as well, the other thing I
felt safe.
That's what I was just going to say. In a lot of places in Hollywood, you don't feel safe. But parking on their driveway, and then we had a combination lock to get around the side of the house to access where we were staying. So you did feel very safe, didn't you?
This is something actually I'm going to mention now, actually, because I think it's the right time to mention about it being safe. Those who've done Florida, I think something that we do want to actually share is the fact there is a difference in California over Florida. And I'm not saying it doesn't exist in Florida, but it's more so in California, and that's homeless and also drugs. More so in San Francisco. It's just to be aware. But even when we arrived at a hotel, we were told to please do not leave anything on site in your car, even if it's a USB lead.
They will take it.
This was actually in the hotel car park as well. So it was it was undercover in the hotel, but they said no, they will come and they will smash the window and take anything they can get $10 for. They will steal, and even to the point where they use things like the emergency hammers you can use in your car to break your window. They'll do it obviously the other way around to break in.
The staff at the hotel were very open about it. It was one of the first things they said to us.
Yeah, and again, it's the fact of the homeless. I've never seen so much in San Francisco, and it really is quite sad. Especially
when you've got kids as well. Because I'd been before, and watching people's vlogs, we knew to warn our kids. And ours were like older teens, and you know what they're like. Sometimes they think they're a bit invincible and they know it all. It was a shock to them, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, they've obviously spent time in London over here because they're of that age where they would do that kind of. So they've seen homeless people. They've obviously seen people, obviously the drug side as well, but
not like this.
But not like this though. No. This is something.
And they found it quite
different.
Scary, didn't they?
It was a point where you'd actually just keep your eyes open, and if you realised there was something like in the distance, they would often sort of group together, wouldn't they? Yeah, you might actually deliberately choose to cross the road, but make it look like that's the way you're actually going. Now, I don't want to scare anybody. We were perfectly fine, but it's just being aware. And
also, if you have got kids, just to pre-warn your kids, like we had the chat beforehand, that it's really sad. These poor people are living like this. It's not their fault. They haven't got help. Yeah,
it's not all their own fault as to why they are in those situations.
But not obviously. To feel scared, but just to be aware. And you feel sad for people. You really do. You're there on this amazing holiday in this beautiful location, and people are living like that.
And for whatever reason, why they are in that situation. You also do see in California, further down south in California, in like the Hollywood area, and also in actually even Santa Monica. I think that was something that we noticed on our first trip that we went in. A warmer climate. Obviously, it's more people who are homeless. Obviously, it's a little bit easier than you've got the colder climate, but just to be aware. I don't want to put a kind of a down on things, but it's just something.
It's an awareness, isn't it?
Yeah. So,
and we did see it around the Disney. That's something else we were talking about actually when we were writing up our notes. You don't see it as much around Anaheim, but like when we got in the car to drive like to a supermarket, we saw a few people, didn't we?
But those who've been to Florida, I think Florida, you step out of Disney, Florida is still very much a tourist area.
You're in a bubble.
Where, yes, there is tourist areas, and California is very touristy, both San Francisco, sort of all the way down, but it is different. That bubble doesn't exist as large as it does like in Florida. Now, I know there are probably very similar issues in Florida as well, but it's not as visible. But it's just to make an awareness. It's more real world, because also just moving on from that as well, I will actually talk about the actual, because I think we can talk about transport a little bit here, aren't we? I'll actually talk about the driving. Those who've done Florida will probably think, piece of cake driving in the States, no issue whatsoever. We've spoken about driving down the Pacific Coast Highway, but then when you go on to roads like the I-5 and the highways, the freeways, the interstates, it is completely different from Florida. I mean, you can drive. It's not a major issue, but it is different. It's a faster pace. People will be cutting from lane to lane. So just have your wits about you. I think doing that drive on the I-5 from, this was in 2013, wasn't it? We were driving from Santa Monica, driving to Anaheim.
I thought I was going to die.
It was for about half an hour. I mean, I've done it before when I lived there, because I used to do it even on a Friday afternoon rush hour. I think a friend came to visit, and I went to the airport on a Friday afternoon at 6 o'clock, and that's the main. Again, you see in the movies the freeways in California and all the lanes, but it's everyone just swapping and changing.
We were in a tiny little Mustang, weren't we?
With the roof down.
Yeah, I felt so exposed. These great big trucks either side of us. I think that was my worst drive ever. Trying to get to Disney.
So just be aware that people don't know that you're actually a tourist. As such, unlike Florida is very much touristy, and it's a slower pace in Florida as well.
The roads are wider as well and a bit nicely kept.
There's a bit more space, yeah. So it's almost like
crazy.
It's a little bit crazy on that on the transport.
Should we talk about transport actually whilst we're on here? So we've spoken about the driving. With regards to car hire, needing a car, that's another question. If you're actually only going to Anaheim, you don't really need a car, to be honest. It's not like Florida in the way that you need a car to get everywhere. If you're staying in a hotel around Disney, you can walk. You can literally walk across the road into the Disney parks from the hotels, can't you? They're that close. Yeah,
we actually, whilst we were there was a friend of yours that was actually staying in one there. Was it the Marriott that was over there?
Something like that, literally opposite.
And it was literally opposite. So, yeah, in respect to the differences between Florida and California, that is a real plus. And some of them aren't that expensive either, are they?
No, under $100, some of them. But like she said, she was actually closer from her hotel into the parks than actually the Disneyland hotels were.
Yeah.
And you've got IHOP, you've got Cheesecake Factory,
all in walking distance.
Denny's, everything is literally, you step outside of the Disney bubble and it's there. It's like one big road. We stayed in, like I said, an Airbnb. We had a little villa. We just felt like we needed more space, and it worked out cheaper than 2 hotel rooms. We had our own pool. We had, was it like a 4-bedroom house or something?
I think so, yeah.
And it took us 15 minutes to walk to the Disneyland hotel. It was that easy, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think going on the touch there, if you're, like we said at the beginning, we were obviously on a road trip, so we did have a car. But if you're just going to do Disney, have a look at it, because you could stay at one of these hotels, and if that is all your trip, or for example you're doing Universal as well, it could be you could grab an Uber to do the Universal part, because it is a little bit of a distance to go to Universal, but probably cheaper than hiring a car.
That's what I was going to say. And also you don't have car parking costs, so we were able to walk into Disney, so we didn't have the car park costs. And I think from ours it cost, was it $5 or $6 for a lift? We used Lyft
while we were there, and we did that a couple of times. Bearing in mind that's 15 minutes, we did actually do that a couple of times a day when we were in there, because we went back to go and grab some pool time and then went back out for the evening. But we were wise to it when it got really, well, we did that when it was really hot as well, because it was August, wasn't it? So it was,
we had some hot days.
But no, we did grab some lifts, and that was perfect.
Yeah, no, it worked really well. And like you can get shuttles from the airport as well, or you can get obviously Ubers. There's lots of possibilities if you're just doing Disney. I wouldn't worry about a car. I think that's money you can easily save yourself.
Yeah, I think it again comes down to what you're doing. If you're thinking of doing planned days out and excursions and want to go and see different parts of California, car probably would be useful. Something
actually, because you said we met up with friends. We met up with Lauren, and she was with her parents, and they actually they did San Francisco, and then did they fly down? I think
they flew down from San Francisco.
They didn't hire a car, but whilst they were at Disney, they actually booked an excursion that came and picked them up.
Oh, that was it, yeah.
And then they did like the whole of Hollywood. They even got taken up to the Hollywood sign, and they just almost crammed everything into one day. And although it was pricey, they got to see everything that they wouldn't have been able to do, and they saved money on car hire as well.
So again, looking at your options,
research.
It could be the fact of that worked out perfectly for them because they had that day to do that. So, whereas us, we actually did other things. Like we did do the Hollywood hike to the sign, but we took like a whole morning to do that whilst we were staying in Hollywood, funnily enough.
That was one of my highlights.
So again, the planning, the planning behind it, what you can do where you're actually staying, so yeah.
So whilst we're sort of like talking about the Disney location, the other question we get asked lots is how long do you actually need in Disneyland? Well, you've got 2 parks, and they are literally opposite one another. A little bit like in Disneyland Paris, actually, being able to just nip from one to the other. Even closer, I would say, actually, than Disneyland Paris.
I'd say they're closer,
The entrances are opposite each other.
They share a paved area in
that's
between,
true,
and you can actually see either side, can't you?
See the fireworks from there as well.
Hmm.
So I was just looking on attraction tickets. That's where we always buy our tickets from. Just to see if it was still the same, because we haven't been since 2019. And the most you seem to still be able to buy is a 5-day ticket. You have two options. One's cheaper than the other. You can have like a park a day. So you can just go into like Disneyland for one day, and then you'd go into, what's the other one called? My mind's just gone blank.
Disneyland California Adventure.
Yeah, that's the one. Or a park hopper. We had a park hopper, so you can then go partway through the day and hop into the next park. It's a little bit more expensive. We went for that. Yep. We did the 5-day. We didn't think we wanted to use all the 5 days, but it just gave us options. And to be honest, it wasn't really that much more expensive.
No, it's a bit like before when you used to be able to get the 2 and the 3 week passes in Florida. The 3 week was only about, what, £50 or whatever more, or £20 or however much it was.
If time is restricted, I would say, we were talking about this, probably 3 days is a nice time to do it. Obviously, depending how busy the parks are. 1 day in each park, and then a day just to do the bits that you haven't managed to do. So you definitely want the hopper in that case.
Yeah, and I think that's the other thing as well, is the fact of just be prepared, and this is the same thing we'd say we do in Florida as well. If you've only got those 3 days, and I guess same with Disneyland Paris as well, if you've only got those 3 days, you, I guess, allow a day for each park, and then you've got a day spare to kind of do anything else. Just understand you may not get everything done. Parks aren't as big as Florida.
No, that's true.
But it depends how busy they are. So don't go in there with that expectation that you're going to do everything. Now, when we were there, they had, this was obviously prior to Genie Plus, wasn't it? And they were actually, funnily enough as well, it was the Max Pass, which was pretty similar to Genie Plus.
We worked really well for us, didn't we?
And I think basically it was almost a bit of a testing ground for Genie Plus. And again, it was something like, was it $10, $15 each? And we did do that on a couple of the days, because we realised that would mean we would be able to get on things, because we wanted to do that. So that's the other option as well, because I know California does have Genie Plus now, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah. So that's the other option as well. But allow that budget as well for the Genie Plus. If you are there 3 days, maybe think, well, okay, it's going to cost us $15 each. I'll save that and add that to it, because that's going to make your day so much easier.
The other thing I was going to say as well is that you don't have to do those 5 days or 3 days, however long, consecutively. So if you want to break it up and do, we went to Palm Springs one day. The other thing was as well, I think we were originally planning 3 days and an evening, and we were going to do a road trip down the coast to Laguna, show the kids where you worked. And I think because we'd been doing road trips and that, and we'd been staying, they weren't really that fussed. So we just thought, why do that one day when they're not fussed with it? We've been there before. So we actually ended up cancelling one of our days, and we had an extra day in Disney in the end. So it was nice having that flexibility. But we really enjoyed our time in Disneyland.
I think that also as well, what you just mentioned, there's another key part, is when you do a trip, and this can apply to any trip as well, but I think particularly on a road trip, plans do change. So just keep an open mind. So although that might be, if you plan to do something, talk about things, and if it's something that you think, actually, in fact, no, I feel we've done enough of that, or we're not keen on doing this, do something else. And again, it might be on that list of things that you hadn't planned to do. You could get something done. So just have an open mind. Don't feel that you've got to do it, because I think having an expectation can also ruin a trip as well.
Yeah, that's true.
Because that can weigh over you sometimes, I think.
Just looking through the list, that's pretty much it, apart from we were going to talk about like researching. And do you know California Through a Lens? His channel's really good. I might leave a link to that.
Yeah.
They're short videos, but he lives in California, and he goes to some really cool places. For research, it'd be really handy.
It was watching the Yosemite one of his, I think, that made me realise about really wanting to go
everywhere.
there. But yeah, it's a good channel actually, isn't it? So
with regards to research though, and how long to spend, write your list, see what you fancy doing. So there are shopping places around Anaheim Way, you've obviously got Universal as well. There's quite a lot to do around Universal. Quite a lot of time people will get a hotel near Universal, won't they, as well? You've got Santa Monica. We did a road trip to Palm Springs when we were staying at Disney in Anaheim. We took a day, left early, didn't we? Did Palm Springs. You can like take the cable car up to the top of the mountain.
National Park at the top of the mountain,
it's beautiful. And then we drove from there to the Joshua Tree National Park, didn't we?
Yeah, I mean, that was another part that I really, really enjoyed. I'd done that before as well.
I would love to go back and explore more. The kids weren't as fast. I think they were, over the holiday, they were tired. It was like 40 odd degrees.
It was 40 degrees. The only thing, it is the desert. And also, that's the other thing to bear in mind. Although California, you think, okay, this is quite hot. You drive into the desert, it becomes a lot more intense. I mean, walking through Palm Springs was
we just got out the car to walk to the diner. We didn't even walk down the road. We were just, it was so hot. It was 40 plus, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was really hot. When we did Joshua Tree Park, we were out taking photos. The kids stayed in the air-conditioned car, didn't they? It was very hot.
Yeah, I mean, just thinking about some of the things we did, there was something I was going to say actually about that as well. And it's also like when you're on a journey, it's sometimes you might have a stop. Just find there could be some places that you might just want to stop off. I remember on the road trip you had found the McWay Falls. So of course it's not something that we had to take a detour for, but it's something so beautiful to go and see. I don't know if you've ever been before.
Beautiful waterfall.
It's a waterfall, but down to a beach that you can't actually access from the land. Obviously, if you got a boat, you could do, but it looks so beautiful. So have a look.
Nobody down there.
Have a look, like on Google Maps. There could be some places there that you find on your route that you can stop off. So that's the other little bit of advice I'd give as well. So now you mentioned about like overnight stays, but it's also having a look on your route. Where can you go? Where can you stop?
And that's what I've done. I literally, when we're doing a road trip, I zoom in on Google Maps on, is it aerial view? So you can actually see. And I literally go do the route. And then everywhere that's like a point of interest, I have a look at. And that's how I found all the places. We stopped at the Elephant Seal Beach and saw the elephant seals.
We were going to go through a run through some of the bits we did, didn't we?
But there's other things that we haven't done as well. Some people like Hearst Castle. That's like driving on the Highway 1 drive. Some people like that. It's not an old castle. It's more of like a wealthy person built this place and people visit it. So it's not like you're going like...
It's not a historical thing, is it really, is it?
But some people like it. We also stopped at Solvang, which is a Danish village. That was really fun, definitely worth a stop. We did whale watching, didn't we, in Monterey. That was so cool. That was part of our road trip.
That was, again, it was on the way. So we had left San Francisco and we needed to be at Monterey at a particular time.
9 o'clock in the morning.
We had a boat booked to go out. That was a couple of hours, and then obviously from that point on we then carried on our road trip. So it's finding those kind of excursions as well. So it isn't just things you have to stay overnight for. All comes down to the planning, doesn't it?
We did the 17-mile drive route
as well. That's what I was going to talk about actually,
Just as soon as we left Monterey, you can do the 17-mile drive.
Yeah, and it's a very scenic drive along the coast. There's lots of stop-off places that are all marked off and that you can pull over. And also part of the way through that is the Pebble Beach Golf Club. If the people who obviously know golfing will know Pebble Beach is a very famous golf club. That's on that drive as well. We actually pulled in there to grab a drink, didn't we? Because
use the toilets.
Yes, a rest stop. But that was nice.
Along with everyone else was doing exactly the same.
But it was nice though. We went in, bought a drink and things like that. So it was just nice to have a look around.
I remember they had the poshest. Like, what are the little things that kids get with the crackers and the cheese and the...
Lunchables.
Yeah, Lunchable. I saw the poshest Lunchable ever in there. It was fun, but it's just nice to sort of experience. Oh, the other big thing that's really important, as you're doing the drive on the big Highway 1 drive, you won't see any gas stations. I think we saw one little one on part of, like, nearer the start of the drive.
Yep.
But on the main stretch, there's no, it's really nice actually, no McDonald's, no KFC, you don't see any of the chains, but there aren't actually places to stop, get fuel or get food properly. You might see the occasional restaurant, but...
if I remember rightly, there were signs as well, weren't there, about that this is the last stop.
Yeah, make sure you're filled up with fuel and you've got snacks in the car.
Yeah, it's... I actually had it once when I was there in the year 2000. I was actually driving to Palm Springs It's a very similar kind of road, not much around kind of thing. It is just kind of desert. And I pulled over to take some photos, and again, it's almost a bit like out of a movie. I keep making reference to the movie, but it really is. I pulled over, and then this pickup truck pulled up behind me, and I was thinking, what's going on? What's happening, sort of thing. But he'd actually just pulled over to check everything was okay.
Oh, and then
because obviously
robbed you afterwards.
But it was obviously a huge stretch of road, so yeah, just be prepared.
That's so nice. Were you nervous though?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't on my own,
Okay.
but it was a case of, it was just, you do wonder, but it was just someone just checking that it was okay. I mean, the stretch,
nice.
I don't know how many miles it was, but it wasn't a short distance. But yeah, just be prepared. Don't have your car running on empty on things like that. Make sure if you see a gas station, yeah, top up when you can. That's a very good point.
And take lots of water with you.
Again, Google Maps is a great one for that. And also, other tip as well, and this comes from Lee and Nick, the Lodge guys, because they did a video about this, I think, a couple of years ago, and we've done it ever since, is the fact of downloading your Google Maps so you have them offline. So you download them, so you won't get traffic, but you will have the maps. So if you haven't got signal, and in some of these areas you don't have signal because where you are, yeah, so download the map so you know at least you've always got that, and also portable charger.
The other thing I do actually, I'm going to get my phone out and show you, when you're on Google Maps, you can save places. I'm guessing probably most people will know this anyway, but just in case you didn't, I highlight everything, but also then places like gas stations, and then I save everything with a little heart as a place of interest, and then it's really easy to find. So that's what California looks like to me. That's all the places that I highlighted that were possible stop-offs. Some of those might be a petrol station, some of those were places of interest. But then you can click on them, and then they're easy to find. Our hotels, everything was saved on there before we went.
And this is actually something, this is actually more about road trip planning. I don't think we've actually done an actual road trip planning video, but when we did our trip, was it New York to your dad's, or was it the Chattanooga one, or both of them actually, we will actually go through on Google Maps, quite closely zoomed in on the route that we're actually wanting to go, just to see what is where, and then also work out how far away that is. And that may sound like going into too much detail with things, but it's nice to know, yeah, there is a gas station there is somewhere we can stop off for food if we really need to.
Rest stops.
There's the rest stop. I mean, rest stops are great over there anyway.
Especially when you've got kids as well, and you're going to need maybe more bathroom visits.
Yeah, exactly. Again, comes down to that research, and also that could also determine which route you take. I mean, obviously the Pacific Coast Highway, that is that road. You can take a road which is further inland, but you want to see the coast, don't you? So
that's what you're there for.
But other routes, yeah, have a look, because it could be an alternative route. Actually, makes more sense.
Oh, I know what I was going to say. Phones, because that's not something we wrote down, but a lot of people ask us. And when when we've done road trips and longer trips, we've actually gone to AT&T and bought a SIM card, haven't we? Yeah,
we've gone to AT&T and just I guess what we would call as a pay-as-you-go over here. You get various different ones, but I would go for like the unlimited data. Well, that's what we did anyway, because I think on this trip we were away for like 4 weeks. So, and that lasted 30 days. And it was great because we always knew, and I think we all did actually get one.
Yeah, we had them for the kids as well.
The kids actually even got them as well, so they had ones which are there, and I think even the most expensive, I mean, prices could have gone up, that was like $60 for that, for each one, so it was a case of, it was worthwhile having that. Also, you knew you'd then be able to get in touch with things. Bearing in mind this is a few years ago, so it's... Yeah, well, it wasn't that long ago. It was 2019.
But for us, it was a safety side as well. We always had phones then in the car. But as our kids were older teens, one day, for example, we went to Disneyland on our own. They didn't want to go out. They fancied just a quiet day. And then we were literally in Disneyland, and we had a phone call, and one of them said there was a man in the back garden.
There's a man round by the pool. Should there be someone there?
We really panicked, and then we contacted the Airbnb host, and they got straight back to us, said no one was due to go. The kids locked themselves in their bedrooms.
Shouldn't be laughing.
No. But yeah, and then it turns out it was a pool guy. They didn't
It
know,
was the
but
guy
we
that
literally
had come on a different day.
raced back. That was one of my scariest walks ever, racing back to the villa to think who is in the garden near the kids. But luckily they had phones, so they could contact
they're
us.
adults, weren't they? So it's not like they were small. We've not left kids
Oh
unattended.
no, they were like 17 and 19 or something.
Yes, old enough to be left. I mean, they could have travelled on their own.
But they still had their phone on, so they could contact us.
Exactly.
They were nervous.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people must say, that's a lot of money to spend just for that. But considering the time we were there, we knew we could stay in contact with each other.
It felt a safety thing to do.
Yeah, I still, in actual fact, have a deal with O2 that has global roaming included. So I still have that, but a lot of them have actually stopped that, and you now have to pay, and have to pay daily when you're out there. So again, it's a working out.
Yeah.
It's probably cheaper to get the SIM card.
The other thing we were going to finish with was some of the things, like I'm sort of continuing on. Sorry, I got a bit sidetracked with the phones then. A lot of people love San Diego. I went there once in the 90s and I did SeaWorld. I don't really remember it, to be honest. But a lot of people really love San Diego. There's some really good vlogs out there. There's a lot to do. It looks beautiful. So that could be something.
I didn't get to... The furthest I went down when I was living over there was a place called Dana Point.
Oh yeah,
which
we
at
went
the point,
there,
which back in when I was there first was really lovely. We did visit back again, and it wasn't as nice. But I've never been to San Diego.
It was a grey rainy day as well. Though,
it was though, yeah. But San Diego's supposed to be nice, isn't it? So
yeah. Where else?
Might be worth talking about Venice Beach a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Venice Beach. I've done it before and loved it.
Would you say though that whole area, Venice Beach and Santa Monica's a bit Marmite? Some people love it, some people hate it.
Santa Monica, I liked.
We made really happy memories there, didn't we?
Santa Monica, that walk from our Airbnb along the beach to Santa Monica, because there's a pier at Santa Monica as well, isn't there?
We didn't stay in an Airbnb.
We didn't actually, no.
We stayed in a boutique B&B. It was so special. It was our first ever trip away without the kids, wasn't it? And it was so special.
Was it Four Sisters?
Something like that. I'm going to find the Channel Inn, it was called. I'm going to find the link for you. It was so lovely. They had a happy hour where they had cheese and wine from 7, but it lasted all evening.
Wasn't it? No, it was something like 5 till 7 or something.
Was it? Yeah, you're right. Actually, 5 till 7, but they just left all the food out. But there was so much food, and they baked everything in the kitchen, which was also their office.
But we didn't actually go out to eat anything in the evening for the first 2 nights we were there because we just enjoyed it. It was so nice. I mean, the breakfasts as well were just beautiful. But also when we got there, when we checked in, the ladies were in the kitchen and they were baking, and that's kind of almost where we we kind of arrived, and it was so relaxed. It was a such a lovely experience there. But also they said, oh look, there's a fridge there, it's full of soda all the time, just help yourself whenever you'd like to.
There was always freshly baked cake and cookies for you to help yourself.
Cookies in our room as well,
with a handwritten note to us.
With a handwritten note, and it's just those little touches there that was so lovely. We would definitely stay somewhere like that again.
Back. There's a few of them actually, aren't there?
Yeah, there are.
And in the evening when it's like cheese and wine time, all the guests, everyone's, because there's like a living room area and a conservatory, and there's just like tables and chairs everywhere. And everyone's just chatting with each other. It was so nice.
Yeah, and I'm sure it was a guy in there was the manager of the Eagles. You know,
he was talking to somebody else.
He was talking to somebody else, and you could tell by the conversation, because obviously sometimes in a small area you can kind of hear what's going on.
And he was quite loud.
He was quite loud as well, I was going to say. But yeah, I'm sure he was like either the manager or something kind of to do with the Eagles. So that's quite cool.
I think that, well, my battery's going to go. That was the best place I've ever stayed.
Yeah.
I loved it.
So battery changed, and yeah, that place we stayed was so lovely. But just going on to the point that you mentioned about Venice Beach and Santa Monica, I love Santa Monica. And
it gets busy, be aware.
Yeah, it does get, but also the traffic as well. I mean, I think between was it 2019 we drove, and I think it was like half a mile or mile, whether it was about 40 minutes or something it took. But anyway, Venice Beach.
It was a Saturday morning.
It was Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Muscle Beach is there, as everyone kind of, that's what it's sort of famous for, Muscle Beach, and there's the basketball courts and things like that, and everyone playing the sports out there and exercising and weightlifting. And there's like a small parade of, let's call it parade of shops, like on the seafront.
Shops.
On the seafront. I don't remember this when I've been previously, but this 2019, you imagine the tackiest of UK seafronts, where you see some real rubbish seafront shops selling.
Makes me think of Blackbush Market.
Selling, God knows what, but they're almost like market stalls, but in shops, but selling hideous stuff. But it just had a real horrible feeling about it.
And you could just smell weed the whole time.
Well, obviously it's legal in California, isn't it? So, but it just had that kind of like, there's nothing wrong with a market, but not a market in that sense.
I love a market.
It was like personalised knickers.
Did you not want your knickers personalised?
No, but you know when it's like, it's tacky gifts and things like that. Again, typical seafront type of stuff. But that was constantly the thing down there.
It was really busy
It just looked really dodgy. It looked really kind of out of place. But
they all had ATMs though outside, so you could get your cash out.
Get charged for, isn't it? Yes, that's where they make the money. But no, it just didn't. It felt a little bit, not run down, but I just don't think I would rush back to Venice Beach. I know you said it's a weekend. It wasn't
what you expected, was it?
Well, no, I have been.
Oh, have you?
I'm sure I've been before. I think, yeah, we just had a wander along there. But no, there are other beaches I would choose to go to along the coastline. You got Laguna Beach, which was so beautiful. It's very arty, and there's lots of other different beaches along there as well. Newport Beach is another one. Huntington Beach a little bit further up. Huntington Beach is very known for surfing. You'll notice some of these are actually quite industrial as well, because there's a lot of there's actually oil platforms actually out in the sea that you can see. So
there was another one we went to. Is it Seal Beach?
Seal Beach is another one.
Oh, that was beautiful.
No,
Hold on.
Balboa.
No, I think we went to...
No,
where's my phone?
Seal Beach was up the north of California.
We went to Seal Beach. I'm sure we did.
Yeah, we did actually. Yes, Seal Beach.
Yeah, that was on our last day,
Yeah, sorry,
wasn't it?
Seal Beach. That was when we went in 2013.
Yeah.
That was absolutely lovely. We stopped at the Toasty, didn't we, before we went to the airport?
So nice.
Again, there's lots of different beaches, so I'd actually choose some of those over going to Venice Beach. But just behind Venice Beach, you had found this.
There's a hidden gem.
Venice canals, and if you follow us on Instagram, you would have maybe seen at that point, or stories. I think check back on the old stories, I'm sure there's some photos there. But the canals, you just would not think they were there. They were so pretty. So we'd go back, but we would go back purely for a wander around the canals, and there's properties on the canal fronts,
so
and people have got paddle boards is the way they actually get around as well.
So
not everyone.
We parked on Venice Beach in some very dodgy looking car park and spent a fortune, but then we walked just a couple of minutes off of the beach, and then
slightly inland a little bit, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it's like you've just stepped into another world.
Yeah.
It's just loads and loads of little canals all connected. They're sort of like crossing, there's little bridges you walk over, and the most beautiful homes, and they're all different colours, beautiful gardens. It was just, I'm so glad we went.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't know it's there, so check out Venice Canals.
And again, it's research. It's a lot easier now because a lot of people have been to these places, but we still obviously research things using Google and place to stay, places to eat. But no, that was so nice, wasn't it, that? So
Carmel's another one, actually. That was where I stopped in 96. It's also really beautiful up near sort of Monterey Way. There's just so many places, aren't there, to stop. But we would love to hear from you. If you've done the California trips, where have you stopped? Which places have you gone to? What excursions have you done? We'd love to hear, wouldn't we?
Yeah, no, definitely. And as I said, we do actually have that trip, the 2019, on the other channel, which I'm sure Lisa will link below.
Yeah.
I say we would like to get it onto our Aid and Lisa channel. That will hopefully come this year at some point. So we'd really like to, because we'd like to
I'd like to tweak the videos a little bit as well.
Yeah, we'd like to bring all the travel together, but in the meantime, please go and check those out. We do mention to people from time to time when they do talk about California, and they haven't realised that we've actually been, because they wouldn't have found the other channel. So it isn't our travel channel, it's your original YouTube channel where we started everything.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's just, we had it for our own benefit, really, didn't we? So sort of family and friends could watch it, and it kind of just went on from there, didn't it?
Yeah, yeah, we'd love to hear from you and hear about your California plans. Have you got a trip coming up this year? What do you love? And yeah, just like to hear from you.
Yeah, is there anything that you actually do different? Because as always with our channel and the accounts and things like that on Instagram, we love learning about other things as well. There's so much we still learn from other people who've also done these things before. So
it's all about sharing, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah.
To make our trips better.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. We hope you've enjoyed it. We look forward to your comments.
And if you're still really here, thank you very much for this video. It's probably turned out a bit more of a longer live, not live, but as you say, it has gone on a bit of a tangent from time to time. But we hope you've enjoyed it. And if you don't subscribe, if you're still here as well watching this now, please subscribe if you don't already.
Should have said that at the start,
we definitely should have done. We always forget that,
We're not
don't
very
we?
good at this, really.
No. But anyway, thank you very much.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.